the podium the president of our association, the Reverend Peter Morales, for his penultimate report to this delegate body. Peter?
Penultimate. Well, good morning. Wow, what a start. The public witness, the amazing service of the living tradition. Wow. I saw a fascinating piece of research. I often describe myself as a recovering social scientist, so I love these things. About growing and declining congregations. It was a piece of research I saw a number of years ago. I've always been intrigued by why some congregations grow and others get smaller. So this study looked at a large number of factors across the nation, and things that I thought might make a difference, like the age and gender of the minister, made no difference at all. But one factor had the absolute opposite effect of what I would have guessed. Congregations that describe themselves as feeling like a close-knit family were more likely to be in decline. On the other hand, congregations that saw themselves as moral beacons in their community were likely to be growing. Now, I thought feeling like a close-knit family would be a positive thing, and a colleague pointed out that it's hard to join a close-knit family. On the other hand, congregations that were engaged in the moral issues of their communities attracted new members. When a congregation is too focused internally, it tends to shrink. And when it looks outward and is engaged and involved, it tends to grow. I think the same thing is true for each one of us. If we become preoccupied with ourselves and our immediate circle, we shrink spiritually. When we look beyond ourselves and beyond our immediate intimate circle, when we engage with our world, we come alive. Every great religious tradition teaches us that we truly find ourselves when we lose ourselves in something greater. Unitarian Universalism has always been about engaging our world. We've always realized that we become our best selves in relationship. That's what covenantal theology is all about. And what is true for every one of us, what's true for our congregations, is also true for our association. We're at our best when we reach out, when we engage, when we build relationships. When I think of what I'm most proud of over the 7 years I have served as your president, it always has to do with forming partnerships that create new possibilities. I think back to our General Assembly in Phoenix, our Justice GA in 2012, our vigil just outside Sheriff Arpaio's infamous Tent City prison is a precious memory to me. I still get emotional looking at the images. Were any of you there? All right. But what made that special? What made it possible? What made it possible were a lot of partnerships. Partnerships among our congregations in Arizona, partnerships with local immigrant rights organizations like Puente, with the UUA district staff and the UUA national staff, and the national staff's partnerships with national organizations like the National Day Laborer Organizing Network. That pattern of local and national partnerships has continued in our public witness. UU ministers and congregations in North Carolina work closely with the Reverend William Barber, president of the North Carolina NAACP, and other faith groups in the Moral Mondays movement. That ethic of being a good partner, often following rather than leading, extends to our work today with the movement for Black lives and in climate justice. I'm so proud of our pioneering work in the entrepreneurial ministry training program. This is a unique and, yes, entrepreneurial program for religious professionals that brings in top business school faculty and religious innovators. This is just one of the programs that's been made possible because the UUA is partnering as it never has before with the UU Ministers Association and with business school faculty across the country. Our next challenge, and this is going to be absolutely critical for us, is to take the most important lessons of this pilot program and make them available to all of our ministers and other religious professionals across the country. Next month at Stars King School for the Ministry in Berkeley, we'll have the 4th Summer Seminary, a program for high school students who are considering a career as religious professionals. These young people are amazing and inspiring. Here's a photo of last year's group meeting in Denver. Nurturing their commitment is critical to our future. Guess what makes this innovative program possible? Right, partnerships among UUA staff and our seminaries and a number of congregations. Another way we're involving people of all ages and helping them engage our values in the world is with the UU College of Social Justice, a partnership with the UU Service Committee. The college provides immersion experiences in justice work and creates a context for crossing the boundaries of culture and class. Creating relationships continues to create new possibilities. Our growing presence in military chaplaincy provides support for military personnel from many faith traditions and for the growing number who identify with no religious faith. Sarah Lammert, our Director of Ministries and Faith Development staff group, is about to become the chair of the National Conference on Ministry to the Armed Forces. You know, military ministry and chaplaincy has been dominated by conservative evangelicals for a number of years. And as you've already seen, we're forming stronger bonds with other faith traditions. We're exploring new ways of working together, not only to work for justice, but to reach out to the millions of spiritually homeless in America. We're not in competition with one another. We're in competition with fear, with ignorance, with greed, with racism, and with the banality of consumer culture. Relationships make us stronger, and relationships create new possibilities. None of the terrific work I've mentioned, and there's so much more of it, but none of this would have been possible for the UUA to do alone. It isn't just about being better together and stronger together, although that is certainly true. Relationships create possibilities. Relationships grow our souls. Now, I began by mentioning a study that showed that inward-looking congregations focused primarily on internal relationships, tend to decline. And congregations that look beyond their walls and beyond their immediate members tend to grow. They grow because they feed a deep hunger in the human spirit, because we are, after all, relational creatures. And so it is with our association. Yes, we're an association of member congregations. And yet, Unitarian Universalism has always been much, much more than a collection of congregations. We're the embodiment, the expression, the incarnation, if you will, of a religious vision of interdependence, of openness, of community. We are a living and evolving tradition. We're accountable to more than our current members. We're accountable to our history, to the future, to seekers who long for a spiritual home. As an association, we have to do two things simultaneously. First, we have to serve the needs of our members. We have to strive to be relentlessly useful, a phrase I've come to love, relentlessly useful. And that means we have to strive for excellence in everything we do that serves our members. Sometimes I feel like we're an electrical utility. We only notice an electrical utility when the grid goes down or when we get the monthly bill. So much of the essential work of your UUA staff is invisible unless something goes wrong. Here are just a few of the things we do that are usually taken for granted. We run a health insurance program that made health insurance available to same-sex couples when they could not get it locally. We manage the endowments for hundreds of congregations and do it in a way that is sound financially and socially responsible. We publish excellent educational materials for children, youth, and adults. And I want you to take a look at the new special seeker issue of UU World. It's a special issue that's going to be an outreach tool. It's hot off the press. I want you to check it out at the In Spirit bookstore in the exhibit hall. And Skinner House and Beacon Press, I wish I had time, they just keep knocking it out of the park with their books. We're there every time there's a ministerial transition, and we do all kinds of consulting and training for volunteers and staff. The list goes on and on. We're also the national and international voice of Unitarian Universalism. We're your voice at the United Nations, in Washington, and in partnership with congregations all over this nation. Your UUA is also called upon to lead. In a time of unbelievably rapid change, this is vital. That's why we partner with other faiths, as you've seen, to explore how to engage the unaffiliated. It's why we develop a program like the one in entrepreneurial ministry. Unfortunately, the best work of our association is at risk going forward. If Unitarian Universalism is to thrive, if we're going to seize the amazing opportunities before us, we have to have a strong association. And if we're going to have a strong association in the future, we need to rethink how we fund it. We need to have an honest conversation among ourselves about what is fair for everyone. Sadly, the system we have now is not fair. Let me share some troubling numbers with you. This chart shows the total annual program fund requests, the fair share requests that we make of congregations, and the percent that is contributed. That solid line is the percent contributed. The most important element here is that the line that shows the amount of the ask that congregations give has dropped from the low 80% to 71% in a decade. That is about $1 million a year. If we were giving the same percent as 10 years ago, we would have $1 million more to spend on essential and vital programs. Now, the drop isn't because congregational budgets have gone down. A decade ago, congregations gave 4% of their budgets. Today, that has dropped to 2.8%. And even more troubling to me is the fact that 47 congregations contributed nothing at all last year. 175 congregations contributed less than 1/4 of the requested contribution, and 279 congregations, or 27% of the total, contributed less than half. That is simply unfair to everyone else. The administration and the Board of Trustees, along with leaders across the country, have begun a conversation about finding a better way to fund our work together. And I'd like to ask Mary Catherine Moore, who heads our stewardship and development staff, to speak to you about this effort.
Thank you, Peter. After over 25 years serving as a minister, I have experienced the joys and the challenges of congregational leadership. And it's true, sometimes I felt like we were out there all on our own, doing really good work, but not supported enough to realize our full potential. In fact, though I hope Peter never hears it, I sometimes complained about the UUA. Why weren't they doing it the way I would have done it? It's also true that in the midst of the ordinary and extraordinary of congregational life, I was often vividly aware of being held by all of you, congregations, staff, and leaders that are our UUA. Those times when I knew our work in the congregation was truly amplified because of our larger religious movement. And now, from this perspective, this seat in the House, I know this more than ever before. That is why we are working so hard to find the right way to fund our work. We're not at all unlike congregations in this work, trying to help you, our members, understand the importance of your financial support for our shared mission. In partnership with the board's APF task force, we are reaching out. Some of you have received our survey already for your input and your questions. Please let us hear from you. You can learn more about all of this on the UUA's webpage. We want to find a plan that brings us into right relationship, where we do not have to ask for too much and you can give what is asked. We want all of our congregations to know we honor their contributions and neighboring contributions to see that the responsibility for funding our larger faith is shared in as equitable a way as possible. We know there have been difficult economic times. We know that the landscape of giving is shifting, and we want to be with you through all of this. And we are asking you to be with us and with each other differently now. We are asking that you prioritize your support of our congregations and our UUA through your giving to the APF and gift. When your congregation does this, the possibilities for our partnership will grow beyond what we have yet imagined. Let's make this a new beginning, a trusting, courageous, generous covenant. Thank you.
But get everyone to participate. It just seems a lot fairer to me. Now, none of this is going to take effect during my presidency, but let's get this fixed so that the next president, who will be the first woman president of the UUA, so that she has the resources to succeed. One of the joys of being president is working with a staff that is passionate and capable. You have a terrific staff, you really do. And I would like the UUA staff to stand as they're able and be recognized right now. There they are, over there. As I enter my final year as your president, I'm as convinced as ever of the potential of our faith to feed the spiritually hungry and to be a blessing in a broken world. When we work together, we can do amazing things. Thank you.